Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Luna Station, watching Earth slowly turn below him. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but Jake knew better. For 50 years, humans had been part of the Galactic Council. For 50 years, they had been preparing for war. The communication alarm rang through the station. Jake's assistant, Mary Collins, ran into the room holding a datapad. Her face was pale. "Commander, we have an urgent message from the Galactic Council," she said. "It's marked as Priority 1. Jake took the pad and read the message. His jaw tightened with each word. The Council was giving humanity an ultimatum. They wanted humans to stop expanding to new worlds. They wanted humans to limit their population. They wanted humans to hand over their colony ships. "Get me Admiral Carter on secure line," Jake said. Now, while Mary worked to connect the call, Jake read the message again. The Council said humans were growing too fast. They said human colonies were taking up too much space. They said humans were dangerous to the peace of the galaxy. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. Dangerous? The Council had no idea how dangerous humans could be. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on the screen. She was in her office on Earth, and Jake could see the worry in her eyes. "You got the message too?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." "What are your orders?" "I'm calling an emergency meeting with President Hayes. I need you to activate security protocol 7. Do it quietly." Jake nodded. Protocol 7 meant they were preparing for war. "How long do we have?" The Council gave us 72 hours to respond. After that, they say they will use military force. The call ended. Jake turned to Mary. "Send a coded message to all department heads. Meeting in conference room 1 in 30 minutes. Use the red channel." As Mary hurried away, Jake looked back at Earth. 50 years ago, when the first alien ships had arrived, humanity had been excited. They thought they were joining a peaceful community of advanced species. They had been wrong. The Council was made up of 12 alien races. The most powerful were the Zephyrians, who looked like giant insects, and the Valdari, who were made of living crystal. These species had controlled the galaxy for thousands of years. They said they kept the peace, but Jake had learned the truth. Peace, to the Council, meant control. Any species that grew too strong was eliminated. Any species that refused to obey was destroyed. Earth's diplomats had discovered this the hard way, finding records of dozens of civilizations that had simply vanished after disagreeing with the Council. But humanity had learned from history. When the Council offered them membership, Earth's leaders had smiled and signed the treaty. But they had also started Project Prometheus. Jake walked to the conference room where his senior staff was waiting. Captain Tom Brady, his security chief, was studying reports on his datapad. Dr. Helen Price, the station's science officer, looked nervous. Commander Steve Walsh, who ran the station's defenses, was checking weapon systems. "You all know why." "We're here," Jake said. "The Council has given us an ultimatum. We have 3 days to surrender, or they attack." "What about the treaty?" Dr. Price asked. "We signed a peace agreement 50 years ago." Jake smiled grimly. "The treaty is still valid. Article 15, Section 3. Any unprovoked attack on Earth or her colonies will be met with complete retaliation until the aggressor surrenders or is eliminated." Captain Brady looked up from his pad. "The Council probably thinks that's just human words. They don't know about Prometheus." For 50 years, humanity had been building in secret. While they traded with alien species and learned their technologies, human engineers had been designing weapons. Human scientists had been studying alien weaknesses. Human military planners had been preparing for this exact moment. The Council thought humans were primitive. They thought Earth's military was weak because humans had never fought a galactic war. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Status report on our hidden assets," Jake ordered. Commander Walsh consulted his pad. "All weapon platforms are operational but powered down. The stealth network is fully deployed across 47 systems. Ground forces are at readiness level 2. Fleet units are conducting routine patrols, but can be in position within hours." Dr. Price added, "Our intelligence network confirms the Council has been planning this for months. They see humanity as a long-term threat that needs to be eliminated before we become too powerful." Jake nodded. That matched what Earth's spies had reported. The Council wasn't interested in negotiation. They wanted humans gone. Recommendations? Jake asked. "We stick to the plan," Captain Brady said. "If they attack, we respond with overwhelming force. No half measures. No warning shots. Complete annihilation of any hostile forces." "The moral implications," Dr. Price began. "There are no moral implications," Jake interrupted. "They want to commit genocide. We're going to defend ourselves." The treaty was clear about what would happen if anyone attacked Earth. 2 hours later, Jake received another message. This one was from Admiral Carter on Earth. President Hayes had made his decision. If the Council attacked, humanity would respond. With full military force. Jake looked at the message one more time, then deleted it. He walked back to the observation deck and stared at Earth. In 72 hours, everything would change. Either the Council would back down, or the galaxy would learn why humans had survived every threat in their history. The blue planet turned slowly in space, looking peaceful and defenseless. Jake smiled. Let the Council think humans were weak. Let them believe their own propaganda about primitive Earth. In 3 days, they would discover the truth. Humans had spent 50 years preparing for war, and when it came, they would fight with everything they had. The treaty was clear. Attack. Earth, face Oblivion. Jake Morrison was ready to make sure the galaxy understood exactly what that meant. Captain Ben Parker was drinking coffee in his ship's mess hall when the alarm started screaming. The lights on the used Defender changed from normal light to emergency red. Ben dropped his cup and ran to the bridge. "Report!" he shouted as he reached. His command chair, Lieutenant Kim Davis, was at the sensor station, her hands moving quickly over the controls. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. "They're big, sir, really big." Ben looked at the main screen. Dozens of alien ships were appearing around New Austin, the human colony in the Kepler system. The ships were dark and angular, covered with weapon ports. Ben recognized them from intelligence briefings. Zephyrian warships. "How many?" Ben asked. 43 ships, sir, including 6 battleships." Ben's blood went cold. The Zephyrian Third. Fleet was the most feared military force in the galaxy. They had destroyed entire civilizations without losing a single ship. Now they were here, surrounding New Austin. "Communications, get me colony command," Ben ordered. The voice of Colonel Matt Johnson came through the speakers. He sounded calm, but Ben could hear the tension underneath. "Defender, we see them too. They're demanding we surrender the colony. What are your orders, sir?" "Evacuate who you can. Your ship is the only one in system. If this goes bad, someone needs to get word back to Earth." Ben watched the alien fleet move into attack formation. The Defender was a small patrol ship with 35 crew members. Against 43 Zephyrian warships, they might as well be throwing rocks. "Sir, they're powering up weapons," Lieutenant Davis reported. On the screen, energy began building. Around the alien ships, Ben had seen recordings of Zephyrian attacks. They would bombard the planet from orbit, turning cities into glass and people into ash. "Colony Command, you need to evacuate now," Ben said into his microphone. "Too late," Colonel Johnson replied. "They're not giving us time." Take care of my family, Ben. Tell them. The transmission cut off as beams of pure energy lanced down from the alien fleet. Ben watched in horror as the first city on New Austin vanished in a ball of fire, then the second, then the third. Get us out of here, Ben ordered. Maximum speed. We need to reach the hyperspace point. The defender turned and ran. Behind them, New Austin was dying. 2 million humans lived on that world. Men, women, children. All of them burning under alien weapons. Lieutenant Davis looked back at her sensors. Sir, one of their ships is following us. Ben checked his display. A Zephyrian cruiser was chasing them, but it was moving slowly. It wasn't trying to catch them. It was hurting them. They want us to escape, Ben realized. They want someone to carry word back to Earth. They want humans to know what happened here. The hyperspace point was just ahead. Ben's ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving the burning colony behind. The trip to Earth took 6 hours. Ben spent that time recording everything he had seen. The attack formations, the weapon signatures, the way the aliens had methodically destroyed every human settlement on New Austin. When the Defender dropped back into normal space near Earth, they were immediately contacted by Earth Defense Command. This is Admiral Carter. Captain Parker, report. Ben's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. New Austin is gone now. Zephyrian Third Fleet. Orbital bombardment. Total destruction. There was silence on the channel for a long moment. Then Admiral Carter spoke again. Casualties? All hands, ma'am. 2 million colonists. Colonel Johnson's last message was for his family. Understood. Bring your ship to Earth orbit immediately. The President wants to debrief you personally. 2 hours later, Ben stood in the White House Situation Room. President Daniel Hayes sat at the head of a long table. Around him were the most powerful people in human space. Admiral Carter, General Chris Johnson, Dr. Karen White from Project Prometheus, and a dozen others. Ben told them everything. The sudden arrival of the alien fleet, the demands for surrender, the systematic destruction of every human settlement, the way they had let his ship escape. When he finished, the room was quiet. Then President Hayes spoke. How long did the attack take? 4 hours, sir. They were very thorough. Dr. White leaned forward. Did you record everything? Yes, ma'am. Full sensor logs, weapon signatures, tactical formations. Everything my ship could capture. President Hayes stood up and walked to a window that looked out over Washington, D.C. They made a mistake, he said quietly. They let you live. They wanted us to be afraid. They wanted us to surrender. He turned back to the room. Instead, they just gave us all the intelligence we need to destroy them. Admiral Carter activated a secure communication system. All stations, this is Earth Command. Authorization Alpha Prime. Activate Project Prometheus. Full deployment. All units to battle stations. Across human space, hidden weapons came online. Stealth ships powered up their engines. Gun platforms emerged from asteroid belts where they had been hiding for decades. The largest military force in galactic history began to move. President Hayes walked to a camera that would broadcast his message to every human settlement in 47 star systems. My fellow humans, he began. 3 hours ago, alien forces attacked and destroyed the colony of New Austin. 2 million of our people are dead. Men, women, and children murdered without warning or mercy. He paused, letting the words sink in. The aliens think this attack will make us afraid. They think we will surrender rather than face their fleets. They are wrong. For 50 years, we have prepared for this moment. For 50 years, we have built weapons and trained soldiers and waited for someone to make the mistake of attacking Earth. The president's voice grew harder. Today, they made that mistake. The treaty we signed 50 years ago was clear. Any attack on Earth or her colonies would be met with complete retaliation. The aliens are about to learn that humans keep their promises. He looked directly into the camera. To the Galactic Council, wherever you are watching this broadcast, understand. You have awakened something you cannot control. You have started a war you cannot win. And you will face the consequences of your actions until every last one of your ships is destroyed or you surrender unconditionally. The broadcast ended. In space above Earth, the largest human fleet ever, assembled, began moving toward Zephyrian territory. The war had begun. Captain Amy Rodriguez moved through the asteroid field like a ghost. Her ship, the UE Shadow, was designed to be invisible. Its hull absorbed sensor beams instead of reflecting them. Its engines produced no heat signature, even looking directly at it. Most aliens would see nothing but empty space. Amy had been waiting in this asteroid field for 6 months. She and her crew knew this day would come. The Zephyrians would attack humanity eventually, and when they did, they would need supplies. Supply ships moved through this system every week, carrying food and ammunition to Zephyrian military bases. Contact on sensors, whispered Lieutenant Sam Green from his station. Zephyrian heavy transport, just like the intelligence report said. Amy looked at her screen. The alien ship was huge, bigger than most human warships. It carried enough supplies to feed a fleet for months. More importantly, it was completely defenseless. Weapons ready? Amy asked. Armed and locked on target, replied Sergeant Mike Torres from the weapons station. Amy watched the alien ship move closer. The Zephyrians thought they were safe in their own territory. They thought humans were too primitive to threaten their supply lines. They were about to learn otherwise. Fire, Amy ordered. 2 torpedoes shot out from the shadow. They moved silently through space, invisible to alien sensors. A first torpedo hit the transport's engine section. The second hit its cargo hold. The alien ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion. Target destroyed, reported Sergeant Torres. No survivors. Amy nodded. Take us to the next intercept point. We have 4 more supply ships to catch today. Across Zephyrian space, similar attacks were happening. Human stealth ships emerged from hiding places they had prepared for decades. Each attack was precise and deadly. Supply convoys vanished. Communication relays were destroyed. Forward bases went dark. The Zephyrian Third Fleet, which had seemed so powerful when it destroyed New Austin, suddenly found itself cut off from supplies and reinforcements. Admiral Carter's plan was working. Perfectly on the planet Koros, General Chris Johnson watched his Marines prepare for battle. The Zephyrians had a major military base here, one that controlled shipping routes for 3 star systems. Taking it would cripple their ability to reinforce their fleets. Remember your training, Chris told his soldiers. Zephyrian armor is strong but has weak joints. Their weapons are powerful but slow to recharge. Stay mobile. Use cover and trust your equipment. The Marines nodded. They wore powered armor designed specifically to fight aliens. The armor made them stronger and faster than any Zephyrian warrior. More importantly, it was painted with chemicals that disrupted Zephyrian vision. The attack began at dawn. Transport ships dropped from orbit, landing human Marines directly on the enemy base. The aliens were caught completely by surprise. They had never expected humans to attack their home territory. Sergeant Lisa Evans led her squad through the bases. Outer defenses. Zephyrian soldiers fired at them with energy weapons, but the human armor absorbed most of the damage. The Marines replied with kinetic weapons that punched right through alien armor. Building secured, Lisa reported over her radio. Moving to the next objective. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Zephyrian base was in human hands. General Johnson stood in the base's command center, looking at star maps that showed every alien military position in this sector. "Send this data to Fleet Command," he ordered. "Admiral Carter will want to know about these targets." Back on Earth, President Hayes watched reports coming in from across the galaxy. Human forces were winning everywhere. The aliens who had seemed so powerful were being systematically destroyed by careful planning and superior technology. Colonel Lisa Evans, who had survived the attack on New Austin by being off-world, brought disturbing news to the President's War Council. "Sir, we've captured intelligence from the Zephyrian base on Koros. This attack wasn't about population control or territorial disputes. The Council has been planning to eliminate humanity for years." She activated a holographic display showing alien documents. "They see us as a long-term threat to their control of the galaxy. The ultimatum was just an excuse. They were always planning genocide." Admiral Carter studied the documents. "This changes everything. We're not fighting a war over territory. We're fighting for our species' survival." President Hayes nodded grimly. "How are our forces doing?" "Extremely well, sir. We've destroyed 60% of the Zephyrian Third Fleet. Their supply lines are completely cut. 3 of their major bases have fallen to our ground forces." "And the other council members?" "They're mobilizing a coalition fleet. 6 species are combining their forces to stop us." President Hayes looked at the tactical display showing enemy fleet movements. The aliens were massing ships from across the galaxy. It would be the largest space battle in galactic history. "Admiral, what's the status of Project Prometheus Phase 2? Admiral Carter smiled. "The Sword of Damocles network is fully operational, sir. We have kinetic weapons platforms positioned in 67 star systems. Each platform can launch projectiles at 20% of light speed." Dr. Karen White, who had designed the weapons, explained further. "The aliens don't know about our kinetic platforms. They think humans only fight with energy weapons and missiles. When their fleet arrives, they'll be in for a surprise." Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Bell was preparing the human fleet for the largest battle in their history. His flagship, the UES Retribution, was surrounded by hundreds of human warships. Each ship had been designed using 50 years of intelligence about alien weaknesses. "Sir, long-range sensors are picking up the coalition fleet," reported his tactical officer. "They're moving toward the Valduri home system. Estimated arrival in 6 hours." Ryan studied the sensor data. The alien fleet was massive. Ships from 6 different species, each with their own weapons and tactics. But Ryan had been studying alien military doctrine for his entire career. He knew their strengths and weaknesses. "Send a message to all ships," Ryan ordered. "Execute battle plan. Omega, target the Valduri command ships first. Without their coordination, the coalition will fall apart." 6 hours later, the 2 fleets met in space above the Valduri homeworld. The battle that followed would be remembered for thousands of years. The aliens attacked first, confident in their superior numbers. But the humans were ready. Kinetic weapons, moving at incredible speed, tore through alien ships before they could react. Human vessels used tactics designed to exploit each species' weaknesses. The Valduri, made of living crystal, were vulnerable to sonic weapons. The Zephyrians' insect-like bodies couldn't handle rapid acceleration. Other species had their own weaknesses that humans had carefully cataloged. When the battle ended 12 hours later, the coalition fleet was destroyed. The aliens who had ruled the galaxy for millennia were scattered and broken. On Earth, President Hayes received the victory report. The galaxy's most powerful military forces had been defeated by humans who were supposed to be primitive and weak. But the war wasn't over yet. There were still alien worlds to capture, treaties to negotiate, and a new galactic order to build. The treaty had been clear. Attack Earth, face Oblivion. The aliens were learning exactly what that meant. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the UE's Retribution, watching the Valdari homeworld grow larger on the main screen. The planet's surface was covered with crystal cities that gleamed like diamonds in the light of their sun. Those cities had stood for 10,000 years. Today, they would fall to human weapons. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Galactic Council, reported Communications Officer Jane Wright. Put it through, Lisa ordered. The screen flickered, showing the faces of the remaining council members. The insect-like Zephyrians looked terrified. The gas cloud beings called the Ethereals seemed confused. Even the proud reptilian Saurians appeared defeated. Admiral Carter spoke Council Leader Zarian, a Valdari whose crystal body was cracked with stress fractures. We request immediate ceasefire negotiations. Lisa's expression didn't change. You can surrender unconditionally. Those are the only terms humanity will accept. Be reasonable, Zarian pleaded. Your species has made its point. You've destroyed our fleets. You've captured our bases. What more do you want? Justice, Lisa replied coldly. You attacked our civilians. You tried to commit genocide. The treaty was clear about what would happen. She gestured to Captain Ryan Bell, who activated the tactical display. Red markers showed human forces throughout Valdari territory. Your homeworld is surrounded. Your government buildings are targeted by kinetic weapons. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will reduce your cities to rubble. The transmission ended. Lisa turned to her staff. Status of Phase 2 weapons? All Sword of Damocles platforms are online, reported Dr. Susan Clark, the fleet's science officer. We have clear firing solutions on every major Valdari city. Lisa nodded. The kinetic weapons platforms had been humanity's secret advantage. Hidden in asteroid belts and outer system debris fields, they could launch projectiles at 20% of light speed. No shields could stop them. No armor could resist them. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, Captain Ben Parker led a team of investigators through captured government buildings. What they found there made him sick to his stomach. Admiral, you need to see this, Ben said over his communicator. The files Ben discovered told a horrifying story. The Galactic Council hadn't been keeping peace for thousands of years. They had been systematically eliminating any species that might challenge their rule. Dr. Susan Clark studied the alien records. 47 species in the last 1,000 years, she reported. All of them destroyed when they reached a certain level of technology or population. The documents showed the pattern clearly. First came trade restrictions, then territorial limitations. Finally, an ultimatum followed by complete annihilation. Humanity was just the latest target in an ongoing campaign of genocide. This changes everything, Admiral Carter said when she saw the evidence. We're not aggressors. We're victims who fought back. She opened a communication channel to President Hayes on Earth. Sir, we have proof that the Council has been committing genocide for centuries. Humanity isn't their first target. President. Hayes' face appeared on the screen. Behind him, Lisa could see the Situation Room filled with government officials. What are your recommendations, Admiral? We can't stop with military victory, sir. The entire Council system needs to be dismantled. We need to find the survivors of the species they tried to destroy. Agreed. What about the Coalition fleet? Completely destroyed, sir. The Valdari are requesting surrender terms. The other species are fleeing back to their home systems. Very well. Accept their surrender, but keep our forces in position. I suspect this isn't over yet. President Hayes was right. 2 days later, long-range sensors detected another fleet approaching human territory. This time, it wasn't from Council species. Ships from 12 different civilizations were heading toward Earth, but they weren't coming to attack. Captain Amy Rodriguez, now commanding a patrol squadron, intercepted the fleet at the edge of human space. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves and state your intentions. The reply came in broken English, mixed with universal translator symbols. We are the Remnant Alliance. Survivors of Council genocide. We come seeking alliance with humanity. Amy looked at her sensor readings. The ships were old and damaged, clearly refugees rather than warriors. Please hold position while we verify your identity. The verification process took 6 hours. When it was complete, Amy found herself looking at representatives of 7 species that were supposed to be extinct. The Council had tried to eliminate them, but small groups had survived in hidden colonies and mobile fleets. You fought the Council and won, said Commander Zaraketh, a reptilian being whose species had been eliminated 300 years ago. You did what we never could. You made them pay for their crimes. Amy escorted the refugee fleet to Earth, where President Hayes met with their leaders personally. The meeting took place in the United Nations building, which had been transformed into the temporary headquarters for galactic affairs. We offer our services to humanity, said Elder Thane, whose bird-like species had been destroyed 5 centuries ago. We know Council technology. We know their weaknesses. We know where they hide their emergency bases. President Hayes listened carefully. What do you want in return? The right to rebuild our civilizations under human protection. The chance to return to our homeworlds and restore what the Council destroyed. And if the Council tries to attack you again? Elder Thane smiled with his beak. Then they will face the same fate as the others. Attack humanity's allies, face oblivion. Within a week, the Remnant Alliance had provided intelligence that led to the discovery of dozens of hidden Council bases. Human forces attacked them systematically, capturing weapons and technology that had been stolen from destroyed civilizations. General Chris Johnson led the assault on the secret base at Omega Station. The facility was built inside a hollowed-out moon, containing research labs and weapon factories that the Council had used to maintain their dominance. This is incredible, reported Dr. Helen Price, examining captured technology. They've been stealing innovations from every species they encountered. Most of their advanced technology was actually developed by civilizations they later destroyed. The base also contained something even more valuable, complete records of Council operations going back 3,000 years. The files showed exactly how they had maintained control of the galaxy through fear and systematic elimination of potential rivals not armed with this evidence. President Hayes made a broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The message was translated into hundreds of languages and broadcast on every communication frequency. Citizens of the galaxy, you have been lied to for thousands of years. The Galactic Council was not keeping peace. They were preventing any species from becoming strong enough to challenge their rule. He showed the evidence of genocide, the records of destroyed civilizations, the technology stolen from murdered species. Humanity fought back because we had to. We won because we were prepared. Now we offer protection to any species that wants to live free from Council oppression. The response was immediate. Within days, representatives from 30 different civilizations contacted Earth, requesting protection or alliance. Species that had been terrified of the Council for generations suddenly found the courage to resist. The Council's remaining members tried one final desperate attack. They gathered every ship they could find and launched a suicide assault on Earth itself. The battle lasted only 3 hours. Human defense platforms around Earth fired kinetic weapons that destroyed the attacking fleet before it could reach the inner solar system. The few alien ships that survived were captured, their crews taken prisoner. Standing in the ruins of the old Council chambers, Admiral Carter watched as President Hayes signed formal surrender documents with the last Council representatives. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. What happens now? asked Captain Ryan Bell. Lisa looked out at the stars, where human fleets were already escorting refugee ships back to their abandoned homeworlds. Now we build a new galactic civilization, one based on cooperation instead of fear. The old order was dead. The age of human leadership had begun. President Daniel Hayes stood before the rebuilt council chambers on Earth, looking out at representatives from 63 different species. The chamber was larger now, with seats for civilizations that had been hidden or thought extinct for centuries. The old wooden benches had been replaced with adaptive seating that could accommodate everything from gas cloud beings to crystalline life forms. 6 months had passed since the last council fleet had been destroyed attempting to attack Earth. 6 months since humanity had proven that the galaxy's oldest tyranny could be defeated. Now came the harder task of building something better. The old Galactic Council ruled through fear. Hayes began his speech. They eliminated any species that might challenge their authority. They stole technology from civilizations they later destroyed. They convinced the galaxy that their oppression was necessary for peace. He paused, looking directly at the surviving Valdari and Zephyrian representatives. They sat in special security sections, prisoners of war who would face trial for genocide. Today, we establish a new order. The Galactic Federation will be governed by consent, not conquest. By cooperation, not fear. And it will be protected by a simple promise. Any species that attacks member worlds will face complete retaliation until they surrender or are eliminated. Admiral Lisa Carter watched from the military observers section. Around her sat the officers who had led humanity's greatest victory. Captain Ben Parker, now an admiral himself, commanded the combined fleet of human and allied ships. General Chris Johnson oversaw the liberation of former Council territory. Dr. Susan Clark worked with refugee scientists to rebuild destroyed civilizations. The treaty signing took 3 hours. Each species representative came forward to add their seal to the document. The Remnant Alliance members went first, the survivors of Council genocide finally free to rebuild their worlds. Then came newer allies, species that had joined humanity's cause during the war. Finally, Hayes signed for Earth. This treaty replaces all previous galactic accords, he announced. Any species may join the Federation by accepting its principles of mutual defense and non-aggression. Any species may leave by giving 1 year's notice. And any species that attacks Federation members will discover exactly what humanity learned 50 years ago. He looked directly at the camera broadcasting to billions of worlds across the galaxy. The treaty is clear. Attack any Federation world, face complete destruction. After the ceremony, Admiral Carter walked through the halls of the new Federation headquarters. The building had been constructed in record time, incorporating architectural elements from dozens of different civilizations. Human engineering provided the structure, but alien artistry had created something beautiful. She found Captain Amy Rodriguez in the Intelligence Center, studying reports from across the galaxy. Amy had been promoted to head of Federation security, responsible for preventing future threats. Status report? Lisa asked. Mostly good news, Admiral. 43 former Council worlds have requested Federation membership. The refugee species are successfully recolonizing their homeworlds. Trade routes are opening up that have been closed for centuries. And the bad news? Amy's expression darkened. 3 Council species are still unaccounted for. The Ethereals, the Void Swimmers, and the Silicon Collective. They've disappeared completely from known space. Lisa nodded. She had expected this. The Council's most dangerous members wouldn't simply accept defeat. They would retreat, regroup, and eventually try to strike back. What about the prisoners? The war crimes trials begin next month. We have solid evidence of genocide against 47 species. The sentences will be severe. Meanwhile, on the newly liberated world of Kepler Prime, Commander Jake Morrison supervised the construction of a memorial. The planet had been one of the Council's victims 500 years ago, its entire population eliminated to prevent them from developing advanced technology. Now, survivors from hidden colonies were returning to rebuild. The memorial honored both the original inhabitants and the 2 million humans who had died at New Austin. The attack that started the war was remembered alongside the atrocities that preceded it. Commander, incoming message from Earth, reported. Lieutenant Mary Collins, who had served with Jake since the war began. President Hayes' face appeared on the communication screen. Jake, I have a new assignment for you. The Federation Council has approved the Deep Space Exploration Initiative. We're sending expeditions beyond the Galactic Rim to search for other Council survivors and potential threats. Jake smiled. How many ships, sir? 100 vessels with mixed crews from 30 different species. You'll be fleet commander. Your mission is to find anyone else who might pose a threat to galactic peace. It was perfect work for someone like Jake. He had spent the war fighting enemies. Now he could spend the peace preventing future conflicts. Dr. Corinne White, the architect of Project Prometheus, stood in her new laboratory on Luna Station. The weapons she had designed to destroy the Council were being converted into tools for exploration and construction. Kinetic platforms became asteroid mining stations. Stealth ships became long-range scouts. The technology of war was becoming the foundation of peace. Dr. White, the new propulsion tests are ready, announced her assistant, Dr. Mike Chun. Corinne nodded. The Federation was developing faster-than-light travel that would make exploration of distant galaxies possible. If threats existed beyond the Galactic Rim, humanity would find them before they could threaten the new peaceful order. Captain Ryan Bell commanded the Federation's newest flagship, the UFS Unity. The ship incorporated technology from every member species, creating something more advanced than anything the old Council had possessed. Its crew represented 23 different civilizations, all working together. Sir, we're receiving the weekly status reports from member worlds, reported his communications officer. Ryan reviewed the data. Food production was up across the Zhou galaxy as former Council restrictions were lifted. Scientific research was advancing rapidly as species shared knowledge freely. Population growth was stable and healthy on dozens of worlds. Most importantly, there had been no military conflicts between member species in 6 months. The Federation's promise of mutual protection was keeping the peace better than the Council's threats ever had. As evening fell over Earth, President Hayes walked through the gardens behind the Federation headquarters. The park contained plants from hundreds of different worlds, a living symbol of galactic cooperation. His security chief, Colonel Lisa Evans, walked beside him. She had survived the destruction of New Austin and now protected the new galactic order. Any regrets, sir? She asked. Hayes considered the question. The war had cost millions of lives. Entire fleets had been destroyed. Ancient civilizations had been toppled. But the alternative would have been the slow extinction of every species capable of challenging Council rule. No regrets, he said finally. We did what we had to do. We kept our promise. Above them, Earth's night sky was crowded with ships from dozens of worlds. Traders, diplomats, scientists, and explorers all coming to the world that had freed the galaxy from tyranny. In the distance, construction crews were building the new Federation Naval Academy, where officers from every member species would learn to protect galactic peace. The curriculum would start with a simple lesson that every cadet would memorize. The treaty is clear. Attack Federation worlds. Face complete destruction. But Hayes hoped those words would never need to be tested again. The galaxy had seen enough. War. Now it was time for something humanity had always been good at. Despite what their enemies believed. It was time to build a civilization worth protecting. As the president walked back to his office, ships launched from Earth's orbital stations, carrying the Federation's promise to every corner of the galaxy: peace through strength, prosperity through cooperation, and protection for any species willing to live free. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the Federation had begun. And somewhere in the depths of space, the scattered remnants of the old order watched and waited, knowing that if they ever tried to return, they would face the same fate as their predecessors. The treaty was clear. Humanity had proven they would honor it completely. Attack Earth, face Oblivion,